Hello everyone, welcome to Common Underground Podcast. I'm your host, Jasper Rodenhuis, and today I will share a video which I was partaking in. I was invited by Derek to partake in the natural law series, and the episode was on shadow work and finding your true self. I didn't do any preparation, it was kind of just going in, and there was like some later feedback and things that need to be corrected. I haven't made any content in 3 years because of an illness that I had, and because of that I also had to kind of get used to making and sharing my views. And when it was recorded, I was still dealing with some pains that I had in my leg, so my energy wasn't at the highest point, but I did the best I could to share at least some information in regards to natural law, coming from the Frisian perspective and the tradition of that. And so I hope you guys enjoy and check out the channel of the people that are partaking in this council. Besides Derek, I didn't know the other people that were there. I was quite unfamiliar. Seems like a lot of the stream of thought is coming from as an afterthought of PASSIO, from my point of view. So that makes it a bit rigid from how I see it, because there's a lot more teachers that aren't mentioned through that. But I wasn't really super familiar with their work, so hopefully if I get on next time, I'll make better quality content, and I can be of greater value. What else can I tell? So there were I'll just leave you to it and you can decide for yourself and see. So sorry for the people that were tuning into the Common Underground podcast content before, that I wasn't able to make any content, and I also had my doubts to continue it since there are so many different podcasts, and I was questioning it, even if it made sense to continue, what value it really brings. And I thought about making different kinds of content, but mainly because of my illness I wasn't able to make any content. This was my first time being on a podcast again and speaking my part. I hope you guys enjoy, and be sure to like and subscribe. If you guys enjoy it, please let me know, and it will help me to see if I can make more content in the future, if I'm able. And I'll leave you to it. Cheers. Let's go for the actual story. Europa, natural
greetings humanity, and welcome to Europa Natural Law, a roundtable transmission dedicated to healing the madness, badness, and the sadness plaguing our beautiful, bountiful world. Through regaining our sanity, reclaiming our inborn sovereignty, and honouring our inherent responsibility, we can improve reality. I'm your host, Nemo Jones, reporting for beauty. And to my... Let's go that way. So we have on my right.
Hi. Balloon. It's a celebration. I'm Oscar. I'm in Denmark. Good to be with you again. to Jasper.
Hello. All right. So yeah, my name is Jasper Rodenhuis. I'm from Frisia originally, and that's a part of the Netherlands. So people know the Netherlands and often don't know Frisia, but Frisians is really my ethnicity, and it also references natural law in its tradition. But that's kind of something that maybe can be brought up later on. But right now I'm in Czech, so I'm traveling, and I'm about an hour from Prague. And there's like a funny fun fact regarding natural law as well, is that Thomas Aquinas, his skull. I don't know if you guys know Thomas Aquinas, but he spoke about natural law as well, and his skull is now like shown in the church of Prague. So my girlfriend she sent a picture of that yesterday, and it's until today. But that was something regarding to natural law. Just because before the show you asked like how I came to natural law, and actually is I think it's the actually term that that's recognized. So I didn't know about natural law, like the terminology for it, but I guess like the interest of spirituality and looking really more deeply into things is really where I started. Like I started researching since I was like 12 years old, but it's really like when I was 17 it became more intensely, and I had more of the mystical experiences and like things are paranormal experiences. So since I was 17, that really when it really propelled and it became more serious. And one of my first teachers, he kind of spoke about natural law, but not necessarily using those words. But he's called Michael Grubb, and he does like psychokinesis practices online, and he really demonstrated what he could do with the understanding of natural law. So he says like my first teachers are nature itself. So that kind of implies that there's something that is communicated, that if we learn from it, that a lot more things are possible that we otherwise wouldn't consider to be possible. So that's, I guess, put it into a nutshell, because there's a lot of things that I could say, but I'll keep it a bit short for now and see where it goes after, if people are more interested in the background, my own background, because I also have background in philosophy, and I was an online philosophy teacher. So there's a lot of things that I could say about it, but it's always difficult to keep it short. So this is the best I can.
Well done. Thanks, Jasper. Welcome. And where should we go next? Just introducing, going around. Vuk.
Hi, I'm Vukan Kempfer, better known as Alpha Vuk from Germany.
Hi, I'm Yvonne, or Eve, and I'm from Norfolk.
Derek Balicelli from San Francisco, but been living in France for 15 years, maybe spliffteen. But yeah, Jasper is the only one in the house who's actually been to my house down in the south of France. It's a beautiful place, and yeah, been on his podcast a couple times, and I like how you termed it, instead of natural law, it's naturalia, something like that. Did a video on that. It was pretty cool. But yeah, anyways, on to the show. Nemo, what's good, brother?
Hey, right. So yes, we've got a topic today, which is going in, finding the true self. So about this, really, I'll just do a little quick intro, which is I was thinking about it today. I think there's like an inner aspect and an outer aspect of this, as in we have to go in order to work with our shadow and understand and start to pull apart the stuff that's like the mess that we that we inherit, and that we that we kind of assemble a person out of, an ego kind of mess, trauma and all of this conditioning and layers of insanity that the world kind of like propagates and that we kind of evolve into. So part of it, finding the true self, is kind of like pulling all that apart and looking at it internally, that's kind of in a way the more negative aspect. But what we're actually trying to do is to really reach the higher self. So it's kind of getting to a point where the ego is serving its basic function. It's keeping us alive, keeping us safe, that kind of thing. But it's not dominating and it's not creating all this mess. And at that point, or through that process, our higher self comes into view, which is obviously operating on a completely different level. And that's to do with more our gifts, you know, and how our strengths, real strengths, spiritual strengths, you could say, and actual practical strengths, which, you know, is really kind of the same thing, I guess. So that's kind of part of all of this. But then it's really, you're going inwards to look at all this stuff, to find this stuff through contemplation, you know, meditation, whatever processes you need to do to come to terms and start to work this stuff out. But the whole purpose really is to bring that higher self back down into action in the world, you know, and to sort of discern what is right action, like the highest right action that you're able to manifest and to bring into reality. So that's sort of a little bit of what I've been thinking about the subject of finding the true self. So I'd like to hand that on to whoever fancies it. Come on.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, I think Oscar, you're super keen.
I mean, I actually found some memes that I thought I'd try to see if I can share. If I can manage to do that. Let's say if I have find. Oh yeah, I think I need to give me 30 seconds. Let's see if I can do it like this. So yeah, what you were saying about the within aspect of trying to pull away the what you could say. Oh, it says unable to share the screen. Okay, maybe it's not gonna happen then. I'll try it one more time. This. No.
If you want to read them off, I can edit them out into the video afterwards.
Oh, okay. That would be cool.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, okay, but I'll start with what you were saying, Nemo, about looking within, and I found like this really cool artwork of a guy called MC Escher, where it's like an image of an eye that looks and it's looking like at a skull. You can see the reflection of a skull in the eye.
Yeah.
And it's maybe I'm not gonna do it like this. Maybe I'll just share some thoughts, because
Can I just
yeah.
Can I just add that MC Escher is actually from Frisia?
Oh, cool.
Just from the capital. I need to put it in.
Yeah, he has some really cool artwork, and yeah, I thought that image was just a good picture as a reference that we want to look at some negative aspects, like, for example, our death. Our death can be in some way something that we see as negative, but really what we want to do is, through the process of negation, through apophysis, we want to remove that belief that we're immortal and see our own mortality in the eyes, and we want to come in contact with that by looking within, looking at it, and that truth that we see then will kind of set us, well, yeah, it will set us free. It will, not in the sense that we'll be free from like what, free from pain or free from like discomfort, but we'll be free from the unnecessary suffering that we impose on ourselves by having illusions, having these beliefs and falsehoods, that if we mistake these falsehoods for truth, we cannot really progress. And that is really what I think finding the true self in the end is about, is trying to to move forward, and how can I move forward without knowing who I am? So that knowledge of who I am, I think it's something that is priceless, is invaluable. Like when someone asks me who I am, it's a question that I want to give an honest answer to, and I want also, if I ask myself the question, answer honestly. And I think that those two words, I am, they're really powerful. They're really great. And also the whole thing of becoming, that we're always becoming, and it's not just I am this and then period. It's also I am and then etc. Like, what am I becoming? Is my being just as it is, like determined, or can I evolve? And I think that's the point that I want to make.
To get in contact with death is definitely one of the in the law of one, it is called a catalytic experience or a catalytic event, and it is definitely the most effective to like peel back all the falsities and really get somebody into contact with himself and his higher self, even if he is not prepared to do so. And I guess the same is for real intense trauma. I had to go through both, and I was lucky in my personal case that I found the Hemisync Gateway meditation, which leads the practitioner of it into remote viewing and astral travel and further. But the first lesson, for example, is to really experience the feeling of spirit in flesh, what Mark Passio also talks a lot about, and especially in his Streetwise Spirituality lecture. This experience, not just to believe or to know, to really experience it, is a life-changing event, definitely. But yeah, to be confronted with the death of a loved one was definitely the event that triggered my real self into existence to do this kind of work.
I'll just throw in something from the Buddhist teacher that I followed for many years and still do to some degree, who's Nichiren. He's around like 700 years ago, and he taught one of his quotes that I always come back to is, he said, "First study death, then study other matters," which always kind of makes me laugh, but it's quite interesting. Like, it's a good starting place.
Yeah, that's funny. If you don't mind, because this is actually on my mind, just, my mental notepads, if you will, of, this subject, and going over the Rolodex of, self-reflection of your whole life, man. Holy spokes. I remember something really hit me hard, and it was just in some, everyday casual thing. I think it was just like in my parents' car driving to like soccer practice or some shit. Yeah, I'm wearing a soccer jersey, big flipping deal. I played for 20 years and yada yada. I know it's bread and circus and whatever the fuck, but whatever. That kind of trained me to have a decent physique for 40 years old. I look pretty good, right? Anyways, yo, what's up, Chris Nelson? Evolved consciousness in the house. So yeah, there was this thought that just, and it stemmed from some episode of The Simpsons. I forget which one, but the whole thing of, what happens after we die? And that it gives you those sleepless nights types of trains of thoughts, right? And having that marinating in the mind for umpteen years and this and that, and then you grow up, and then yada yada, and yeah, for me as a guy, I noticed I didn't have the best, you know, confidence in self. I felt like I was lacking something, you know, as a teenager and this and that. You know, I had like acne, self-esteem issues, whatever the fuck, and there was like this void, or whatever, and just like not having the idea, and that carried on to, you know, like junior college or college level, you know, early 20s, late teens, more of a feeling and a thought of just this yearning to understand, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how come I'm not fully understanding myself, how I tick, and why does this feel like, you know, there's something, especially myself, that's holding myself back and not really actualizing and taking life by the hands, like these magical hands, right? And all that stuff. Like Brandon Spencer did a great presentation on that. But fuck. Yeah, so, you know, all these things weigh in over time, right? And then you know, as the pressure builds up, is that diamond gonna, you know, be manifested or whatever, so people can actually ignite that soul spark that is the actualization of your really real true self in this lifetime. And yeah, I went through some initiations and hardcore research within myself and this and that, and even, you know, like having the burning desire to figure out, well, yeah, like I myself, you know, we're all droplets of, you know, consciousness in the ocean of, you know, this collective. And where the fuck does it originate from? You know, like all these things. And of course, when you grow up, you know, there's the religions all around trying to influence whatever. And like, what are we going to identify with and all this stuff? And like, well, like, what's there to identify within oneself first and fucking foremost? And when we take it to the Hermetica, yeah, it's all about the state of mind, the mentalism. We have to have a proper state of mind, balanced, especially take it to the mental gender of things, you know, the two hemispheres, masculine and feminine. And yeah, it's unfortunate that, you know, in what I realized, and this was happening when I first moved into Paris. I was there from 2010 to 15. And being away from America and having a lot of isolation time. I actually stopped playing soccer because I had a crucial injury of tearing my ACL and meniscus. So I was literally like bedridden for months. And that was one of the first times where I actually had a chance to like get off the hamster wheel of going to school or, you know, having to work all the time and all the stuff. Like I literally had to I was just in a room with a computer and YouTube was basically what I watched. And so getting in all that stuff and spending a lot more time with myself in silence as well. And just like feeling more into myself and, you know, deep meditation, contemplation, and all these things really helped out a ton. And it's unfortunate that, yeah, the rat race leaves people in a sad face and leaves your proper true self in last place. Because we're all in fucking survival mode, especially these days with the amplification of inflation and whatever the fuck across the nations. And that's really unfortunate because, yeah, being in that survival mode, it's like operating from the R complex part of the brain more often than not, and not having the neocortex, you know, with more flex. Whatever, tougher than Gore-Tex, right? Anyways, that's all I'm gonna say for now. I'm gonna pass it off because it's, yeah, there's a round table and we keep it nice and round and, you know, circumference.
Okay, I'll jump in after you then. All right, okay. This was a very, very big question for me when you put it up, Nemo, on the chat. Why is it important to know thyself? Or why is it important? And yeah, it scrambled my brains for quite a lot, actually. And I just thought, how do I explain to the world the importance of knowing thyself? And then it started to unfold. And it took my mind back to the startings of being here, being incarnated into this realm. And we're given certain programs all the time. We're programmed, aren't we? we're programmed through education, all the different social structures that you can think of, and you start to inherit what other people externally are outside telling you who you are. And it wasn't until late teenagers when I started smoking marijuana, and I started tapping into other things and then taking magic mushrooms. I started to realize that I was more than just someone's daughter, someone's girlfriend, or I was more than that. I was a vibration. Everything around me was made up of energy, loads of little photons and protons, everything. And yeah, and having other mystical experiences after that, even though I wasn't smoking and taking mushrooms, I think it elevates you into a higher frequency. Then I started getting into different health modalities. And the biggest one, the best book that I ever came across, I'm going to show you, and I advise everyone to read it. Can you all see that one? Called Vibrational Medicine. And it completely ticked all the boxes of what I was learning about, of the possibilities. To be honest with you, I can't turn around to you now and say, I am this, apart from I am some energetic being having an experience here. I can't really define it any other way, really. And so, yeah, the vibrational medicine, there was a great piece of writing in there explaining about the, I know I went on about it previously, about the Chinese 5 elements. I'm going to talk about the meridians a little bit, because that helps explain scientifically that energetic things are actually real. It's a science. And there was this guy, I think he was Korean, Kim Bong something. I can't remember his full name. I'll ask Derek to put it in the link at the end. He done experiments by injecting isotonic fluid into where the Chinese for centuries and centuries and centuries had mapped out where all the meridians were. So he injected this isotonic fluid, and then through a special camera called a gamma camera, he actually proved and watched the fluid follow the path of where all the ancient medicine people before said where all the meridians were. But in our Western culture, our doctors and GPs, they say it's a load of bollocks, it don't even exist. But he's obviously proved, and there's been experiments since that's proved that these meridians actually exist. Anyway, he did various other experiments, and his theory, which I think he proved by doing this experiment, was that the meridians manifested physically into the fetus before any other organ in the body, any other system. So he felt that it was like it's like a portal, an interference pattern from the etheric level, like the energetic level of us, and it gives the information from our higher self how to form the physical body. So this started to really bring home to me that what I'd experienced through taking hallucinogenics and things like that, scientists were actually proving that these worlds actually do exist. There's loads more I'd like to go on about, but I want to give everyone else a chance. Just briefly, that other experiment, what is it called? Is it the double slit? Have you heard of that experiment, everyone? Yeah, the double split. Yeah. So, shall I go on about it? Does anyone else want to? Yeah, the double slit theory, which also proves that things are not what they seem. So these scientists, when they shot photons, like a laser that went through a double slit screen, and then behind that screen, you would expect that the laser would give 2 vertical lines, but it didn't. it gave like a black line, a white line, black line, white line, black line, white line, black line. So it actually split. Yeah, it split up. So that actually proved that when the laser went through the double slit, it wasn't a direct, you know, like a beam of light. It actually went into a wave sequence, and that's what was reflected on the backboard. But when they decided to like ask the question, what slit did the photon actually go through, it started to misbehave, and it wasn't doing the waveform anymore. It was just going straight through. So the theory was, or not the theory, the outcome, the conclusion was of that experiment, that photons and light have consciousness, that they
as far
they
as I
knew
know,
they were being watched. Basically, they knew they were being watched.
I think
And
it was electrons they shot. It was
yes,
matter, not photons. And the what makes it even like more exceptional is that the matter like showed two like forms of existence: the matter form, the like charged particle, and the waveform. What you were describing, the wave pattern that came on the back of the wall. And yeah, I can really recommend everybody to look up the two slit experiment. That's a very, very important scientific experiment. It's and what you touched on, the entheogens and psychedelics are a real great teacher to get into contact with your higher self, especially when you combine it with meditation. I have made great success, or I had a great success with those kinds of combining those methods. There are a lot of it, but I wouldn't recommend just like trying it, but microdosing it and have it. If you have the opportunity to know somebody, have a trip sitter as well to have the best experience with when you try like exploring entheogens like marijuana, shrooms, etc. So this is no call to drug abuse, so please be
yeah, I'm
conscious.
not advocating that. It was all, when I did it, it was all in not a controlled environment, but we weren't taking the piss out of the situation. It was yeah, everything was set up. Everything was set up in a good manner, so it was in a safe environment, and there was always someone babysitting. That there wasn't actually someone yeah, on the shrooms or whatever. But what do you think about that then, regards that double slit experiment, what I was just talking about?
Well, I think
It helped answer the question for me. You know what you asked, Nemo, when you asked, why is it important to know thyself? I think that answered it very well for me anyway, because it made me think that if you don't know who you are and you just think that you're someone's son or you're someone's daughter or you're a physiotherapist or whatever, that there is the possibility, it proves that like we are made up of energy, and how we are influenced by something that's external, how we are influenced by other people's opinions, how we're influenced by the news media or whatever, that you, if you know yourself, or if you know that you are made up of this energetic essence, then I think it helps you to become more conscientious and choosy about what you get involved in and what you're taking in. And that's why it's so important. Because if you're not, then you are under the influence of fuck knows what out there. We don't know what they're messing with regards fucking rays, invisible things coming in, outside external stuff that we can't actually see. So yeah, it's so important that we teach the next generation that there are they are more than what they're being told that they actually are, because yeah, it's quite dangerous not knowing. Yeah.
Jasper, would you like to come in? We haven't heard from you for a bit.
Yes, the double split experiment is quite technical, because there's like different interpretations that be made out of that experiment. I personally have read like the David Bohm his interpretation. Like I don't recall it as very freshly, but regarding the topic, because I'm a bit confused about this, but it is on shadow work, or can I bring up something else, or well, like how are things about that? I don't have to be a bit more familiar with.
Well, it's not exactly shadow work. I mean, we're talking, you know, it's kind of, yeah, it is kind of focused on shadow work, I guess. Finding the true self, you know, that's the topic.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
anything around that, yeah.
About like how does one find it, or what does it mean, or the importance of it, or just to try to answer for oneself who one is. I think those are good ways of approaching the video.
Yeah, no, so I personally, I could share like an anecdote that I had. So I like fighting oneself. I don't know if you guys have ever researched anything in near-death experiences. That would be something that's something at least I know a little bit more about, and I had my own experience. So I could share a bit of that. But that's truly when I regard as I truly found myself. Sure, like from day to day, when aren't we ourselves? I wouldn't say like the words that you used with I am, because I don't see yourself as being fixed beings. So, and I'm not saying that you're intended that way, but from where I gather, it's like more everything is in constant flow. So I can only say that I was, and not say that I am, because once I say I'm already changed. As well as like I don't think, I have thought. So all the thoughts are also in the past. Being present at those things, it's because it's in a constant flow. It's impossible. That's at least from my perspective. And these are like some things that I've gathered over time while contemplating on the near-death experience that I had, which was, if I describe it, I was just looking and meditating towards the sun and closing my eyes, and it just penetrated through my skin, and I better understand what the essence of the sun is, which is also a term that I would use instead of the higher self, because it felt like the sun is actually like an oversoul, something that is like a shared soul that we are all connected to. We're all dependent upon the sun's light for life. This was something that I saw reflected in myself. Like I saw myself, and it was such a transformative experience that I just could catch a glimpse of just a few seconds. And just like you, when you look into the sun, you cannot see into the sun directly, or you can just look at it for temporarily, unless it's like sunset and sunrise. So coming back to like what is finding yourself is being able to finding the light within. It's like Krishnamurti said, be a light to yourself. And these things you have to cultivate, I think, over time. I don't, when people say like finding yourself, I think I thought personally more that you create yourself into existence. That's not an automatic process. That's something you have to practice. And then one of the aspects of near-death experiences is that people get a life review, and they will not from at least from what I've gathered, not see everything of their life. There will just be some highlights they will see of things that were most crucial, where they make decisions that had an impact on a larger scale, and they would see like, okay, this is some things I have to change, some things that I've done right, some things I've done wrong, and you will just very honestly get this reflected back, and that's something that helps you to see like what is really important. And most of it's like when we're driving a road that we've driven many times, our consciousness is not completely there, because it's something that we're used to, and most of our life is things that we're used to. So how conscious makes that how conscious make that struggling with the words here, but how conscious are we then truly, to put it in other words? I've heard like someone said like it's about like a few seconds that we're actually truly alive. So I think it's to really be in that essence. It's quite rare. That's at least my take on it, and I can supplement it like with Gurdjieff, for example, who also said like we're robots basically, and a lot of it is unconscious. So, and there's different practices that one can have in order to grow a being, to really be present and really cultivate yourself in each moment while we're participating in the world. But it's a very comprehensive and very extensive work, and it's something that I currently still I'm learning, but it takes years. It is not something that is it's just like learning a skill. I think it's also like that when you want to be yourself, you have to learn it just like a skill. Learn to be yourself. So that's basically putting it simply.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I could say something. Again, I guess it's kind of more anecdotal, maybe a bit more kind of basic, it's just to do with my recent experience, really, and about how, you know, and I've said this a few times on the show, you know, that it's about aligning thought, feeling, and action, you know, and that's really, that's quite a new sort of formulation, a new conception of how, for me, of how to sort of think about my experience and the result of my actions. And I just can't really sort of rave about it enough. You know, it's such a simple thing, you know, just to keep referring back to that, you know, it's like, are my thoughts, feelings, and actions in alignment? And that it just gives you so much to work with. It really probably in a lifetime or a few lifetimes to work with, you know. It's just such a beautifully simple kind of thing. And I've just seen recently, I mean, without going into too much kind of personal stuff, I guess, I would just kind of say that it's just kind of become clear for me how the more that I focus on, the more that I meditate with that intention, the more, really without putting specific effort in, I can start to kind of see the, I can almost just kind of see the things dropping away from me, like, you know, like just, it's kind of like I'm being born again, and this kind of crazy, you know, like, I mean, I think Derek mentioned, you know, self-esteem. You know, I mean, we're, you know, and Mark Passio's, you know, emphasizes this. We're kind of a self-loathing race, you know, species, whatever. This is a huge problem. Everyone, you know, and everyone that's done any kind of work on themselves kind of gets this, you know. They you know, it's like, what's your core wound? This kind of thing. It's like, well, it's always the same fucking thing, you know. it always comes down to I don't think I'm good enough. You know, that's always the kind of thing. But obviously that manifests in different ways for people, and I kind of think, yeah, I'm just, you know, I mean, it's not really an anecdote because it's just quite a bit vague the way I'm expressing it, but you know, deliberately so, because I don't need to spill my beans or whatever. But this is just my experience. It's like part of, you know, partly doing this, what we're doing here, you know, actually speaking out into the world what I understand, even if it's faltering, even if it's, you know, not perfect, even if it's not well thought out or necessarily well expressed or whatever. This is part of me coming into alignment with my, you know, bringing my thoughts, feelings, and actions into alignment. And that is affecting, that is kind of part of this process. And I'm seeing it in other aspects of my life, my creative life, where I'm kind of going, oh, look, I'm noticing, I'm kind of looking back at who I was and thinking, yeah, I can kind of see this big mess, but it's like I'm leaving it behind because I'm more focusing on the higher aspect of what my life is about. I hope that kind of came across. I don't know, there's something that I'm trying to, there's a nugget in there I hope I've conveyed, but yeah.
It sounds like you're shredding all your bullshit, Nemo, what you've been brought up with. So that's what it sounded like. And
yeah, but
you're getting the opportunity maybe to start being who you really are.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, you have to take responsibility. You know, we take on, you know, we have, you know, it's this thing. Someone else with the same story would have a different response. You know, so we do come into the world with carrying karma. You know, and so we have to kind of accept something of who we are. You know, yes, we're programmable, but also people respond very differently to the same programming. So, you know, who knows what I've done? What I've done.
You brought something very interesting up there with the programmability, and so yeah, the way we do these videos each week is a question is asked in the forum, and we answer the question, and I think this, like the way it was formulated, the question this week was what does it mean, or what does it mean to find the true self, or something like that. And I really thought, knowing that fact about human nature, that it is programmable, is that I included that in my answer because I think that is something very important to understand, not to confuse our condition with our, you could say, essence or our nature. So you're looking around at humanity and you see us, well, you see us suffering and you see us acting very foolishly, and you can make you could draw the conclusion, but that's what I'm kind of warning against doing, that looking just on the condition we find ourselves in, that is our nature. Our nature is to be this retarded, and I guess that happens because we don't differentiate, we don't distinguish between that we can be in a condition without that condition being our only way of being, that we cannot be any other way. So I mean, I guess I'm just ranting a bit here, but I think that idea that we are programmable, or more than idea, that insight is very valuable to have, to understand that the information that we take in, we process it, and then we act out. It's the output, and that's what we see in the condition is the output. And we think, well, then that must mean that we are that way, but actually it's more a reflection of the information we've taken in. So when you look at a person who has really excelled in their life and you're like, oh my God, this guy, he's a god, or like he's a genius or something, it actually might more reflect the amount of time and effort they've put into learning that skill or developing themselves, creating themselves, as you were saying before, Jasper, that we are our own creation, that we are, I'm ranting a bit.
Yeah, can I just throw in something about belief, you know, because this thing that I keep thinking about at the moment is this idea, this sort of crazy problem that, you know, so much of what people do is they take on beliefs because they're comfortable, and they're not actually looking at facts. They're not actually assessing the data dispassionately, you know, rationally. They're basically taking on a belief because it's comfortable, and that applies to external beliefs, like which, you know, people take on because they want to be accepted in the tribe, this tribe or that tribe. They want to be seen as kind. They want to be seen as smart.
Yeah, the Ash experiment really showed that really well. There's this conformity experiment.
Yeah, and they want to be, you know, perhaps higher status. You know, so they take on a belief, and they never, you know. And I'm not saying they do this. I mean, we all have done this. I think, you know, because we're not taught how to not do this, you know. So these beliefs come in, and then on top of that, or rather underneath that, we have internal beliefs which are comfortable, you know. And these include, I'm not good enough or whatever, because if I'm not good enough, well, then I don't have to try very hard, do I? You know, and that kind of thing, you know. So these self-limiting beliefs, they're not based in reality. They're sort of taken on because they align with a feeling, and that feeling is part of who we think we are. So that's, I think, a huge part of this shadow work and finding the true self, is like really pulling apart. Well, where did this belief come from? Does this actually align with reality? You know, and a lot of the time it's a no.
Yeah, why? Because a lot of reality has too much fallacies. And that's why, you know, people got to take the time to, you know, re-educate themselves, deprogram themselves. Like Yvonne was saying, you know, there's programs on top of programs on top of programs for fucking, you know, millennia type of shit, that we need to break all these fucking cycles, heal the generational traumas, and all these things that are included in the shadow work. You know, that's another topic, of course. But just getting back to the self and being able to recenter, remember all the elements that are involved within the core essence of your soul, yo. What the hell? Bring that into alignment right here, right fucking now. 3D, mon ami. Mais oui. Allez, les gars, c'est pas trop compliqué. Mais allez. So, yeah, when I had like my spiritual awakening journey, it really started off with actually just, you know, the intention of and the burning desire to like reinvent myself. You know, I kind of mentioned that I was kind of struggling to, you know, figure myself out and all this stuff. And yeah, at the time I was married, I was happy, but still feeling that void within myself of not, you know, actualizing something and all that. And that led on to like a full-blown alchemical awakening. But it's not some kind of fucking little TikTok montage type of thing. As Oscar, you were talking about, as far as, you know, like, it's not just, you know, a blip in a moment, and like we bypassed all this stuff that we actually got to do to reach these certain levels of self-mastery, first and fucking foremost. And then, you know, whatever, think of, you know, your average apprentice that has years of progression to learn a certain trade. What about the trades and craftsmanship within yourself? Are you the master builder within the temple of your soul? You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, just regaining control, re-educating yourself, and, you know, being able to better discern all that stuff, and, you know, really have your S words in your arsenal of articulation, you know, swords, words, intellect. Sorry, I'm thinking abstractly with the how elements correspond to certain archetypes of consciousness. You know, take it to the tarot, the, you know, the suit of swords, and that's kind of what that represents. But anyways, and those are things in these arts and sciences that we can all learn from and attribute to our lives, and learn more about ourselves and what's going on, even in the current, or, you know, the past, like Jasper was talking about. But yeah, no, there's a lot of folks that talk about, you know, like be here now, like the time is always now, if you will, and like even like the past, present, future can all be kind of in the present, depending on how you look at it, if you will, or feel into these things, or operate or navigate through these things. And yeah, there is that, you know, love-evolution of having to re-love yourself, and you might have to also re-parent yourself, re-paternalize, re-maternalize. If you didn't have the best parents growing up, you know, that was mentioned earlier, that's another thing. And that's also kind of helped me get over and grieve the loss of my mother, who passed away like a year and a half ago, that kind of stuff. But as far as, yeah, just like activating the soul spark within you on the 3D level is kind of a forbidden feeling. And that's how I felt when it first happened. But yeah, just like I had such a frequency shift that, like, holy smokes, like I was living in kind of like a terrified slumber, you know, back then. It's like when you adjust the resolution on a computer or whatever, or television, and you get that proper HD clarity, it's kind of like that kind of shift into just cognizance and all these things, and like feeling into yourself a lot more on an intuitive level. That's kind of like that going deep within and being in alignment and in proper, you know, like one of the previous things I mentioned, like Hyros Gamos, you know, having the alchemical wedding, you know, being balanced, you know, both hemispheres, like I mentioned, with the masculine and feminine attributes of the brain, and all those archetypal attributes that correspond to these things. And but you know, obviously recognizing who you are, where you stand in your even cosmic blueprint in this procarnation, incarnation, whatever kind of carnation people want to label it as. What's your sun sign? Wow, everyone knows the fucking horoscopes on that. Like, big deal. It's been so watered down, the fucking, you know, astrological pop culture, whatever the fuck. But you know, what's up with your moon? And that corresponds to like your mental attributes and how you think, what makes you tick in that kind of mental capacity, in a sense, 2 degrees or whatever. And yes, all the zodiac signs are within us, but just to varying degrees. Have you taken a trip around the circles within circles, you know, like all these things? And like, where were you in the past? You know, check out your south node. What are you supposed to be doing kind of like in the future? Look at your north node, that kind of stuff. What's your ascendant? And that kind of thing. So, you know, I'm speaking personally because, you know, learning about those things just blew the fucking doors wide open as far as becoming even more self-actualized, self-aware, and just more self-confident, I suppose. So yeah, these arts of sciences that we can that are available, you know, we cannot be ignorant to them and not look at the taboo tabloid-esque type of bullshit that waters these meanings down. And this is what sucks about any kind of truthful information and sacred knowledge, ancient knowledge, whatever. And even like going into the Hermetica, this stuff is getting kind of watered down on even fucking YouTube, because people are going to make money off of YouTube and have their channels monetized and all that jazz. So whatever the fuck, as long as people are trying to do it properly and with the least amount of distortion, I got no issues with that. But anyways, so yeah, find your catalyst. Vuk, you kind of alluded to that earlier, as far as, you know, what does it take for someone to kind of realize that they're kind of in the wrong, in like what Nemo was saying, like aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions. That means that nothing is in contradiction and it's aligned to objective morality. That means that there's no harm being done through the process, right? So yeah, that's all I gotta say for the moment.
Yeah, don't be an idiot. The word idiot literally means, and the great Jordan Maxwell explained it, literally means the one who doesn't know himself. So don't be an idiot. And yeah, many ways lead to Rome. how to find their own like true self and higher self. There are like more easy ways and more like painful ways. And I want to touch upon what I think Jasper said with the sun being our oversoul. In the Law of One, it is stated that it is our logos, and God spoke the universe into existence. So it is like our, let's put it that way, representative of him in this solar system. But we are beings of Mother Earth, so she would be the one that we like should get more in line with it. And I think that it was Nassim Haramein who said to look into to look for consciousness in a human brain would be like looking for the moderator in a radio. So we are just like antennas for the consciousness around us, and the quieter inside us we get, and the more cleaned up and purified we get as a being, I think that is the better we can adjust and understand all the cosmic input from all the consciousness around us, like the big ones, like the sun, our mother, the cosmic sun. And I think I spoke about the sidereal time, where the Earth is in alignment with the cosmic central sun, where all the humans get like 300% psychic abilities boosted for like 2 hours in a day. And it's really, it's measurable. It's measurable. No, it's able to be measured to really get those results when you do the testing in that time. And I think that is a real good like evidence for our higher calling, that we should transcend materialism and really try to focus our strive to grow for the highest possible goal and purpose. And I think that it is the mind and the creative aspects of ourselves that could be will be most helpful for us to really get into a higher consciousness state. But it is just a question of will and focus and energy to get there, but it is hard to stay there all the time. And I think that is a great art to master.
Yeah. So we're just approaching an hour, so let's kind of so it's kind of to last thoughts time. I just made a note about growing up. I think really what we're talking about is growing up. That's one way of thinking about it, you know. And I think probably most of us have. Well, you know, we've talked about living in an age of delusion. You know, we're living in an age when, you know, and this has long been talked about in the sutras, etc. You know, this is an age of complete delusion. You know, it's not like a bit. It's not like a lot of people are deluded. It's not like most people are deluded, as in more than 50%. It's like almost or everyone is deluded, or in fact, everyone probably is deluded. It's like it's thick. This world is
Clown
thick
world.
with delusion. Sorry.
Clown world.
Yeah, you know, so that's the reality we're dealing with. So, you know, we are a lot of kids, a lot of traumatized kids running around acting like adults, you know, or thinking that we're acting like adults. That is the reality of this world. And so what we're really talking about in finding the true self, and I love what you were saying, Vuk, about this, well, as I understood it, it's this idea of kind of getting out of the way, you know, getting all the trauma out of the way, getting all the stories out of the way, getting all of the programming out of the way, so that we can receive almost this this transmission and you know, manifest what we're supposed to be doing, because it's kind of streaming into us, really, you know, and we just need to get out of the way, and everything, and then we can grow up, you know, actually grow up and really yeah, do what we're supposed to be doing. So yeah, anyone with last thoughts, let's go for that.
I'm like, if I'm like, I'd like to maybe share also some memes, if that's cool, but I don't know if it makes sense in this broadcast. Does it have to be around 1 hour, or can we stretch it a bit? Like,
we always do stretch it a bit, but not really more than like you know, wrap it up.
okay.
So if
I have a thought about the, also kind of related to what you were saying, Vuk, and also what you were saying, Yvonne, about things not looking, things not being as they seem, things being paradoxical, not having this, like, being different than their appearance, and it's also about this, of who we are, because we might get deceived by the appearance of our being, by like, we might think because things look a certain way that we are a certain way, when in fact we are different. And one way this comes to one way this expresses itself is whether or not we are more than just physical beings. Are we just that's also what we were saying before, like, can we find ourselves in ourselves, like, just literally, like, if I cut up this body, will I be in there? So this materialistic worldview, and how there is truth to the reality of things being in 3D, being physical. It's not that, as we were saying before, it's not that we just have to live in the stars and just to be you know, dreaming away with joints and everything. It's about being here now and applying our knowledge in this reality. But yeah, this thing about that there's more to reality than just the matter, and that there's not to say that spirit is over matter, or that mind is over matter, but that mind is not physical. My mind is not only the neurons firing in my heart and brain. There's an aspect to reality that is metaphysical, or more than physical. And a good thought experiment about that is the ship of Theseus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but the ship of Theseus is this thought experiment that raises the question of whether or not a ship that has all its parts replaced remains the same ship. So if one accepts the materialistic worldview, the answer is no, because the object has all its parts substituted, and therefore it cannot remain the same object. But if one refuses materialism, this idea that only matter exists, not to say that matter does not exist, but the idea that it is only matter that exists. If one refuses this idea, one can see that the metaphysical nature of identity, or that things are what they are, is not just that they are physical, but we can see that an object that has all its part replaced, just like our body that has all its cells replaced, is still the same object because of mind, and mind is not physical. And this again relates to this Hermetic principle of mind, of mentalism. And as you were saying, Yvonne, like, how do we define ourselves? Like, who am I? Well, it is possible to define oneself as being consciousness, as being mind. All is mind, and the nature of this universe of this reality is that it is conscious. It's this electric field. It's energy of consciousness. Yes, it's mental. What does this mean? Doesn't mean that it's retarded. You're mental. It means that it's creative, and it's non-physical. It's like a dream, like that nursery rhyme of row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Or don't forget to scream. Ah, no. Okay, a bit random. But yeah, this aspect of reality, that it's that our mindset is a big creative. When we're saying that who are we? Well, we create ourselves. Well, then how do we do so? And it really does start with how we see the world, how we perceive reality, and what we're tuning into. And I think what I'm encouraging to tune into is to tune into the aspect of ourselves that is not only the physical, even though that we do not want to just stop there. We also want to connect with Earth and put our feet on the ground and manifest our spirit here. I don't know. It was a bit of a long rant.
Okay, any last closing thoughts, quick ones?
Yeah, I'm gonna quickly say, take on board that you are more than just what other people, what you've been brought up with. Start looking into the metaphysical side of our nature, because I am concerned that if we don't start as a collective taking on board that there is more to us than just the physical, and we are a multi-dimensional aspect, then we're missing out on a huge, massive, wonderful potential that, we could be discovering so many different things regards our health, regards how the planet works, everything. There's so much potential out there. And also, if we don't start taking on who we potentially really are, then we are stepping closer and closer to turning into something that I don't personally want to be part of, and that's transhumanism. That there's things going on out there that are on the electromagnetic field that are getting bombarded at us to condition us into that realm. So I would say really start taking on board the metaphysical side of our nature. That's all I'd like to say.
Yeah, I would add that the old saying that, or the quote that Mark Passio likes to use for the quote from Buddha: there are only two mistakes you can do on the way to truth and onto your path to your higher self, your true self. It's not starting and not going all the way. And I think that it's true in this sense as well. When you really want to find your true self and your higher self, there are lots of ways how you can do it. It's just a matter of, do you really want it? Do you want to invest your spiritual currencies, like time and attention, to do so? Then yeah, you will get there.
Nice, well said. Okay, I think probably time to wrap it up. Unless, Jasper, have you got a last thought?
Yes, I raise your hand, brother. And I just want to say one thing, Nemo, and then I'll pass it to you, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick.
Yep. Who's speaking?
Is it my turn or is it yours?
Yeah, go,
okay.
Jasper.
Yeah. So I shared like quite some raw thoughts. So I hope that gave some insights. But Yeah, there's like a something that that Oscar said, which some of it I remember, but in my tradition in Frisia, we are where the world comes from, the etymology. In Frisian is Waldra, and Waldra means it has like three components. It has Vr, meaning ancient. There's also the arche, from archetypes come from. At least that's what I speculate on. Then the second one is all, which is space, and the third part is the mind, is Da. And so pointing something out is what is Da, and Da'at in Kabbalah is knowledge. And this world has a spirit, and the world spirit is basically what you could call the higher self, but it's not separate from the world itself, but it is the world, but it's more than that. So in this teaching from Frisia, the Valdra does not learn. So what our consciousness is different than from the creator. The only distinctive difference is that we learn throughout our lives about different things, and the creator knows. So the creator doesn't learn. He already has access to everything that happened and everything that will happen and everything that's within now, like Derek also said, with how the time collapses into one into the present. But throughout our lives, we have to learn a lot of things and gather information about who we are. But yeah, so from Valdar spirit, the first principle that's created out of that is called Eva, and that is what can be equated to as natural law. And Eva is, if you understand it through a metaphor, is stand like the ocean, but then calm ocean. And so when everybody is relaxed, there comes an oceanic feeling out of that. So that steps into the metaphysical, and symbols are needed in order to navigate, just like a ship going through the ocean, being able to steer wherever one wants to go. But that's also then, because also you asked in the beginning how it came across the natural law. That's basically embedded in tradition, and the parents are called elders, ouders. The first parent is oer-oud, it's ancient old. So the first ancestor is the creator itself. A lot of finding out who you are, creating yourself in a more conscious way, has to do about learning about your ancestry and where you come from, and not just the genes, but also your upbringing with condition and things like that, that you guys also mentioned as well. But this is just coming from a different angle, saying it comes to the same ground than what you guys are saying. At least that's what I intend for. But yeah, that's all I have to add. So that's a bit of the Frisian flavor about natural law.
Cool, thank you. Derek, did you have something you wanted to chip in quick?
Just real quick, because you and I participated in a wonderful event hosted by Corey Anderlitz in regards to the Liberator 2 showcase. And, we both submitted some 1-minute clips, and mine was, answering the question, what is the most important thing one must know is thyself. Know thyself, to love thyself, know thyself, and you understand the universe type of shit. As above, so below, don't you know, bro? Anyway, here we go. Nemo, sorry. Thank you so much, real quick, for everyone commenting, especially Flor El Omari. She was kind of under the weather. Usually she would be with us, but yeah, and 0 Point Spirituality, Zeralath, I see y'all. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And voila.
Okay, so thanks to everyone. Thank you for a great discussion, and to everyone for listening, and to the folk behind the scenes. So yeah, it's seeking to align with our higher selves, which brings us to present our understanding of these essential topics, and because we care. but the algorithm doesn't care. You can easily amplify our work and help the algorithm to know what is truly important by sharing, liking, commenting, and all of that stuff. So please go ahead and do that right now. Everyone's links will be in the description, and as well as a link to the Telegram group where we're going to head right now for our post-transmission analysis and hangout. You can literally go there and join us now if you like. Just follow the link. Otherwise, we have discussions there through the week. We usually, once we settle on a topic for the following week, I'll post a question, so we can have discussion through the week there. But that's it for this week. So until next time, I'm Nemo Jones, reporting for Beauty, and I look forward to seeing you all next time on Europa Natural Law. See you later.